So, what are some of the major needs of the anxious preoccupied attachment style? And what do needs actually represent in a relationship itself? Well, first and foremost, what you want to understand is that a relationship, similar to the way that as an individual, we need certain things in order to survive, so does a relationship. So if you think of like the organism of an individual, we need to breathe air in order to survive. We need to drink water in order to survive. There are these certain aspects of what survival essentially requires. For an anxious preoccupied attachment style, or for any relationship as a whole, there are also specific needs that act as the lifeblood of a relationship, similar to the way that as an individual we need food, water, shelter, and oxygen. And when the needs are not met in a relationship, when there isn't this healthy exchange of needs taking place between two people in a relationship, it's like the relationship isn't getting nourished with the things that it needs in order to sustain. And so when our needs are not being met, it is very disempowering, it is very defeating, and it's very difficult to not create some kind of resentment or frustration between the two parties because part of the reason people get into a relationship in the first place is because they assume that their needs will be met continuously over time. And so when things change or the needs aren't getting met or there are misunderstandings or miscommunication, this is where things really get tricky. So, a huge part of deeply connecting to an anxious preoccupied attachment style, or a huge part of like what the anxious preoccupied really wants to know about themselves and what they should look for in relationships, and what's required for them to feel like the relationship with them or to them is being nourished properly so it can thrive instead of just barely squeak by and survive, are that you have specific needs. And the most important needs for an anxious preoccupied tend to be as follows. And what I'll cover here is the top 12 or so major needs, but also what you can do to communicate about these things, share them, and why it's so important to understand the needs of people you might be in a relationship with as well. Huge first needs. Anxious preoccupieds respond extremely well to a sense of closeness, consistency, and connection. When things are inconsistent, the needs are not met, the anxious preoccupied tends to get triggered more often. When there isn't that closeness or proximity, the same thing will happen. That connection has to be met consistently. Validation tends to be very important for the anxious preoccupied. They also value and care about being reassured, having a sense of approval from their partner, and feeling a sense of importance. Consistency, as mentioned, is huge, but also across the idea of feeling present. If somebody is not present consistently with the anxious preoccupied, they will also end up feeling unseen, unheard, triggered by that experience as well. So far you can see some of these needs. Now, as I go through, there's still more to cover, but as I go through, think about how some different attachment styles have totally different needs. And if you want to do a deep dive, by the way, we have a whole needs course you can check out for free for 7 days using the link below that covers how to discover your needs, exactly what your needs are, the needs of different attachment styles. And again, it's free for 7 days. It's about an hour and a half long course, more than enough time to get through and really understand your needs. Other really important things for an anxious preoccupied is they want to feel understood. They also want to feel a need for inclusion being met, having the need for community being met in their life, and the ability to collaborate and have teamwork. So you'll see all of these really vital needs that an anxious preoccupied has. And when somebody has a different set of needs, or when the anxious preoccupied doesn't know that they need these things, it's like not knowing that you need food or water or shelter for survival. It's like you don't know what you need for the relationship dynamics in your life to survive. So how can you possibly even get them met? So you're operating at a deficit, right? You're operating at a disadvantage because you don't know your needs. So step one is to understand your needs. Step two is then to learn to communicate these needs in healthy ways and to also develop healthy strategies to meet these needs within the relationship to yourself, but also to talk about these needs with people in your life, to let them know that these things are important to you, to set the standard straight early on when you're dating somebody, to say, hey, consistency really matters to me when I'm dating somebody. It's something I look for. A sense of closeness or intimacy is very valuable to me. It's something I vet my partners for when I'm starting to date and see if I want to be in a relationship with somebody. Presence for me is really valuable. So, if we're on a date, phones away, things like that, that goes a long way with me. Let people know these things early on, communicate about them consistently. And if you're currently in a relationship, these discussions need to be had constantly. So, as I mentioned, if you want to do a much deeper dive into this topic, we have a full needs course that can help you discover other people's needs, other attachment styles needs, your needs in more detail as it relates to different people in your life as well. And just a deep understanding of needs overall, because they're one of the biggest impactors of our relationships of every kind: workplace, romantic, friendship, family, all of them. So, again, you can check it out for free 7 days using the link below. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, for being here. If you enjoy this channel, I put out daily content on integrated attachment theory, which is the new attachment theory, our subconscious mind, relationships, communication, you name it, everything to do with how we can really thrive in our lives. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in future videos.